Hello and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney to Resolve. Last time we continued investigations for the third case of the game, and today we're going to be hopefully finishing up our second day of investigations for the third case of the game. I don't know for sure. The investigations for this case seem to be a bit longer than they have been in the past, so I don't know if we'll be able to finish today. I hope we can, but no promises on that front. But anyway, I think we're about done here at the experimentation stage, so let's see if we can go elsewhere. I'm pretty sure the only place we haven't been yet that's of substance is the prison, so I guess we can go check in on our client. See if there's anything new that we can uncover here. Oh, what the... okay. Whoever's in charge of guarding this man has made a very terrible error. You gave him a piece of chalk? Great. Well, my sympathies go out to whatever poor Seth has to clean off all those drawings off the wall when he gets out of here. What's he doing? Oh my! The whole wall of the cell is covered in mathematical equations! Oh, how horrifying. He's still writing more now. Professor, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. Who is this young lady?
The best person you'll ever meet in your life.
My name is Sato Mikutaba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. It's a pleasure to meet you, Professor. Oh, if only I'd met a refined young woman like you sooner. None of this would have happened.
No, that's not logical. I was about to say, how have you drawn that conclusion?
Oh dear, I'm sorry my presence...
No, Susato, you've done nothing wrong. You've simply existed. This man's gone insane. This is not your fault. I owe you an apology too, Professor. I didn't manage to deliver what I promised you I would in the court this morning. Yeah, we'll still have another day to go.
Oh, no. The whole miserable affair. It all happened because I've been such a complete and utter clod.
Well, I mean, you know.
Professor Hairbrain, what have you been working on in your cell?
Probably some kind of device to break him out.
Oh, you mean that? Oh dear, how embarrassing. I was suddenly struck by an idea, you see, and I simply had to write it down. The wall was all I had to hand.
And you had a piece of chalk to write it with? Oh, is it some new hypothesis? Something to surpass super high voltages and telekinesis, maybe?
No, actually. This is my autobiography.
So, what now?
Your autobiography?
I'm not sure you know how autobiographies function properly.
How I was diddled and
Don't call your autobiography... Do not have the title of your autobiography start with the phrase, how I was diddled. Don't do that. That's a mistake.
I found I can represent my odd fortunes with only odd numbers and an ambitious set of simultaneous equations.
No one is going to buy this book. Spoiler alert, no one will buy it.
I'm going to have to pay back all the loans I took for the kinesis machine, you see. So it's going to be a new serial publication from next month. Part 1, an odd birth and upbringing. Or sorry, an odd upbringing.
You can't beat the man's optimism, that's for sure. Oh, is that what this is? Optimism. Well, for now, would you mind if we talked a little more about the case and completely ignored the insanity on the wall behind you?
Oh, yes, of course, I'm working through the numbers.
Don't stop saying that. Don't say you were diddled by the ass, man. Don't do that. Don't say that. That's... Okay. Okay. We're not going to have to sit through an explanation of all these equations, are we? I take that over what we just heard. Trust me. Okay, this morning's trial.
Everything I believed in has been turned on its head. My research, Mr. Assman, the kinesis machine, my hypothesis even. I'm sorry it's come to this. There was really no other way. No, it's not your fault. I wanted to protect my work, but in the end, there was nothing worth protecting. It was never my intention to deceive anyone. I didn't want to trick the public.
And yet, you held on strong to the idea that it was totally real the entire time. Alexis Sato.
No, of course you didn't. But in court this morning, I realized something. Oh? If you've done something wrong without knowing it, you've still done something wrong. Logically, it makes no difference if you were aware of it or not.
That's not entirely true. So if you pull a lever, if you're standing in a 1x1 room with no windows or doors, and you pull a lever, and that lever opens a trap door that unleashes a bag of rocks to fall on someone's head. There's a big difference between you maliciously pulling that lever, knowing what it would do, and pulling the lever and accidentally killing someone. There's a difference why involuntary manslaughter and an actual first-degree murder are very, very different things in terms of legality and culpability. Your intention has a lot to do with that.
Oh, Professor. He believed in me this morning, you know. Barrick did. He believed in my hypothesis.
Well, I think that was just a necessary factor in the prosecution establishing its case.
No, Barrick wouldn't do something like that. I'm sure he genuinely believed it.
Did he?
I don't know about that one there, buddy. I think I understand now. Why it was that he decided to take on the prosecution in my trial, I mean.
Okay.
After the terrible accident happened, nobody would believe in my hypothesis anymore. Not the police, not the prosecution service, not any lawyers even.
I feel like I dealt some kind of finishing blow there.
So if any other prosecutor had taken the case, if it was anyone other than Barak, I'm sure the prosecution would have declared my hypothesis a complete and utter nonsense.
It would have declared it a nonsense. Okay. In that case, you would have been declared a fraud yourself, Professor.
Exactly, which would have been a fate worse than death for me.
No, it would not have.
But Barak insisted that I was a proper man of science from start to finish.
You think that's why he...
I know him very well indeed. He's an extremely kind-hearted soul.
So you keep telling us. But that extremely kind-hearted soul spent all morning trying to paint you as a murderer, didn't he?
Well, admittedly, that part of the analysis appears to have some flaws in it.
Oh, some flaws, you don't say. And what about the whole Reaper side of things? How does that fit in with the kind-hearted soul idea? Okay, let's hear about you getting diddled by the ass man.
Did you think he set it to trick me from the very start?
I'm sorry to say that does seem likely, yes.
When I first met him, he introduced himself as a wealthy financier. He looked over the paper I'd written and said my work would benefit all humanity and must be pursued. He was so enthused. He was so empathetic.
But in reality, he was the mastermind of some vast criminal network, it seems.
I still can't believe it.
As the machine was essentially a set decoration for some stage magic, it probably didn't require a large amount of investment, actually. But the scale of it wasn't just some small trick. It was a very elaborate feat of deception.
All young scientists are full of hope about their burgeoning ideas, full of zeal. But none of us have any money. We want to do research, but we can't afford it. Many of us take on barely legal part-time work to try to earn just a few measly pennies to carry on. To go through all of that only to be taken for a complete fool is too rotten to believe.
It is, I agree. And that's why we have to find those responsible and bring them to justice.
And Mr. Assmate is no more, of course, which leaves only the engineer.
Mr. Enoch Drebber. Which is quite a name. Drebber the engineer. Okay. Is he an engineer or a magician or a swindler? Or all of the above?
It was about a year ago when Mr. Assman first brought Drebber to meet me in my laboratory. Since then, I've met him many times to discuss details about the kinesis machine.
But at no point did you have any inkling that he was just an illusionist?
Oh, he definitely wasn't just an illusionist.
What do you mean?
He was a wealth of deep scientific knowledge. There was no question that the man's a genuine scientist. It's instantly apparent in conversation.
I see.
But the wretched man deceives you, Professor. It's unforgivable. We must do everything we can to find him and bring him to justice. Are there no more clues you can give us as to his whereabouts?
I'm sorry, we only ever discussed the kinesis machine, nothing else.
Although, just once. I did visit his workshop. Maybe open with that next time, buddy. Maybe when we ask, do you know where we can find him? And then you say, no! And then 3 seconds later, you're like, yeah. It's like, maybe open with the yeah next time. What workshop?
Drebber's enormous fabrication laboratory where he constructs my great machine.
Would have been great to know. That would have been nice to know about, I must admit. Would have been great to know. Susato's stunned like, this guy knew the whole time? What have we been wasting our time diddling around for? Why didn't you mention this before? That's every chance we might find the man there. Susato's gonna cream him in a second here. For not revealing that information sooner. So you've been to Drebber's place of work then?
Yes, just once, you understand.
Once is enough.
It was an enormous place, plenty of room to construct its kinesis machine, you see.
Where can we find it? We have to go there at once. There's a good chance that we'll find Drebber there. Or at least a clue to his whereabouts.
Well, yes, definitely, I'm sure. As in, I'm sure you're not going to want to hear this. Don't even tell me you don't remember. I have absolutely no idea where the workshop...
Oh, you useless wad of gum. Okay. Great.
I'm so sorry.
I was more than half expecting that.
You see, I was blindfolded in the carriage the entire way there.
He blindfolded you? He wasn't taking any chances then.
The place is incredible. The pinnacle of modern engineering. Even the oil he used was the very best. A special French machine oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. The indescribable scent of that imported oil. The perfumers across the world should forget their secret formula and use that instead.
What do you think, Mr. Sato? You'd a machine for your next birthday?
I've never used any kind of perfume, Mr. Naruhodo, and I'm not sure I'd like to start with that. I don't suppose you know even part of the workshop's address, Professor. You don't have a business card for Mr. Drebber, for example?
The man was clearly very cautious, Mr. Sato. I'm sure he would never have... Ah! Don't even tell. I swear to God, if he wrote the address on his business... What?
Let me see that!
Throw etiquette to the wind, why don't you? Did he actually?
Enoch Drebber, engineer.
I'm afraid that's all it says, no address. Is it on the back of the card? Oh, I can't say I'm surprised. It says it could be useful. Is it on the back of the card? It better not be on the back of the card. I'm gonna check right now, I swear. If it's on the back of the card, I call bullshit right now. There's no way a man that's this cautious about his workshop would ever be this blatant with it. Okay, So there is a weird stain on the back, but thankfully, honestly, that's a good thing. It's actually a good thing that his address isn't on the business card. Because if it was, I'd call bullshit immediately. This dark smudge here.
I think perhaps it's machine oil. Ah, yes, possibly. He said it was specially imported, very high-quality oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. Yes, that's right, but more importantly, and it's that it's more fragrant than the finest perfume. So, excuse me a moment. Oh, it doesn't appear to have any scent at all.
Don't worry, I expect that just because there's such a tiny amount on here. Interesting. Okay, that was an odd detail to bring up. Alright, is there anything else we can... I don't think there's anything else we can bring out. Where can we go? So, not here, already been there, already been here, can't go here. I guess we can try to go back here, already been there. So our choices are either go here or here. I guess I'll check to see if we missed anything at the experimentation stage. And then, well, actually, I guess, you know what I can do, actually, while I'm here, let me just show this to, let me show this to Gina, see if she can do anything with it. And then we'll go check out the other place. About this, Gina.
Yeah, I'm still learning me letters at the moment.
You don't know the alphabet.
I only know A to E, so very too much.
I recommend you watch Sesame Street. That should get you straightened out in a minute here. You don't know that.
Actually, Gina, it's the back of the card that's important.
Eh? How come?
There's just a dull smudge on the back, that's all.
She doesn't know the alphabet.
It turns out that this is very high-quality French machine oil, and has a very particular scent, apparently. You don't say! Let's have a whiff, then. You sure? I don't smell nothing.
No, we didn't mean that you should smell it.
Oh, right. You mean Toby?
Aw, his sense of smell is so good he can track people over the oceans, can't he?
Professor Harebrained informs us that this oil is unique to Mr. Trevor's workshop.
I think he's picked up a scent.
So you mean if it follows the scent of the oil, typically leads to that dodgy Cove's workshop? That's right. That's exactly what we were hoping. Alright then, we'll give it a go. I'll just borrow that.
What? Wait, when did you... What's a pickpocket?
If I can lead everyone to that Trevor's workshop, I'll be the boss's boss before next watch.
Or maybe she said next week, I don't know.
Oh yes, Gina, I'm sure you'll be promoted.
Poor Gregson. Okay, well that went better than I expected.
Right then, Odo, leave it to me.
Sorry?
We're going to get going after that dodgy engineer Cove right this minute. Oh, but hang on. Someone's supposed to be on guard duty all the time.
I'm afraid we can't help. We need to get on with our investigation as well, Gina.
Oh, right. Oh well, never mind. It ain't gonna be me what gets in the neck. It'll be the boss.
Poor Gregson again. Gregson's suffering the same fate as Gumshoe once did.
Ready, Toby? Got the orders in, have ya? Come on then, boy. See you later.
Good luck on your quests, Gina. We'll have, hopefully, good luck on ours.
I do hope the scent of that oil leads them to that swindler's workshop.
Yes, I hope so too. Ideally before the dog swims across the channel to France. Okay. Well, I think we've done all the investigating we can here for now. If we could just determine the whereabouts of Mr. Drebber.
I'm sure Gino and little Toby won't let us down.
Hopefully.
Now then, do you think we ought to try to speak to Mr. Sholmes at this point? We have things to discuss and I'm dying to meet him again after all these months.
Just prepare to be disappointed. Yes, it's quite possible that he might know something useful, you're right. We ought to find him at Madame Tuspel's. He's supposed to be working there as a temporary waxwork exhibit. Because, of course, he is.
Yes, Iris told me all about his latest unusual venture.
Which, of course, she thinks is phenomenal because she's the biggest Airlock Sholmes fanboy on the planet. Okay, Madame Tuspel's. Let's see what's going on over here. October 23rd, Madame Tuspel's Museum of Waxworks.
Oh my! No wonder it's called the House of Horrors.
Stop, I can't with the stupid eyes.
I like to turn on my heels and go straight home, via the confectionery.
Being scared makes you crave sweets, I can understand that.
But, you know, there's something about that waxwork over there. It looks exactly like Mr. Sholmes down to the very last detail. Ah! What is it?
Oh, sorry, I think you'll find that's the temporary waxwork himself.
Ah, the friend of my dedicated employee.
Yes, hello again. It's Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
I must say, I am quite spellbound by the great detective. He is a marvel. My precious waxwork is already back where it belongs.
You don't mean...
But yes, the mystery is solved already.
Uh-huh, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Mr. Sholmes can really engage his brain when he's hungry enough. I don't know about that one, though.
So as you can see, he's returned to his habitual duties.
Yes.
His habitual duties?
Yeah, to stand around and be useless, his habitual duties.
Allures, do not disturb, huh?
Okay, then. Poor Susato-san, she looks very perplexed. Yeah, well, looking perplexed once in a while is better than being perpetually perplexed for your entire life, like a certain Mr. Sholmes would be. Alright, Sholmes, we're here to... Actually, we haven't looked at the left side of this place yet, have we? Or maybe, I think we might have seen this when we first spawned in, but I don't think we've, like, fully investigated this yet. But anyway, the highlight here is obviously, let's talk to Mr. Sholmes.
We really do need to speak with Mr. Sholmes, and I am longing to say hello again.
For some reason.
But where is he?
You can't... Susato, I think you might find this quite nearby, actually.
Oh! What are you...
Indeed, my dear fellows, it is I, the useless Sholmes, the world-famous great detective in waxwork, Sherlock Sholmes. Once again, did she... Susato-san! Susato-san! She fainted. Great. Congratulations. I'm gonna assume that was faint from the shock of revealing that he's just as useless as always. She might have held out hope that maybe he got better, but no, he didn't. My most humble apologies, for I have caused yet another poor innocent soul to faint on my watch.
I thought I'd died and gone to an eternal paradise for a moment. Via London.
My dear madam, allow me to make amends by offering you a tasty free deduction at some point. As long as it's not of questionable street food quality.
I don't understand. Why are you working as a waxwork here, Mr. Sholmes?
Merely a secret identity, you understand, though the case is largely solved now.
Largely solved?
We're talking about the waxwork abduction, I presume? Indeed we are, my good fellow. As I predicted, it was as easy as proverbial pie. Though I confess, I'm yet to partake of a pie, proverbial or otherwise, or any food so far today, for that matter. That stomach rumble echoed around the whole museum. So how did you manage to solve it so quickly? Ah, well, do remember as I said it was largely solved. Anyway, I simply negotiated with the culprit. Are you familiar with the so-called telephone?
Oh yes, it's a most modern invention, allowing you to hold a conversation with people far away. In Japan, only the imperial capital and a handful of other cities are connected as yet.
This morning, a telephone call was received here from the perpetrator of the abduction. As such, I was able to negotiate terms, and in the end, the waxwork was returned. That's amazing! Just between you and I. It would appear the culprit had always intended to return the stolen waxwork in any event. How interesting. How wonderfully interesting, given the circumstances of the crime.
Oh, but I thought whoever was responsible had demanded a ransom, no?
Yes, I think perhaps. The ransom demand was unnecessary to avoid unwanted suspicion regarding the true motive.
But does that not mean your negotiating was entirely unnecessary?
Yeah, well, so is most things he does in his life. A fact that I must ask you to keep from Madame Tussauds at all costs. A hungry young Iris awaits my return to Baker Street after all. Poor Iris. Oh, well, I mean, she's been able to cook for herself, so I don't think she's really struggling on her own right now. Now then, do I sense that you have some business with the great waxwork? If that's how you want to, I guess technically, before this game, you were about as useful as the average waxwork, so I guess it kind of checks out. We're in the process of trying to track somebody down. Oh.
Yes, a man by the name of Enoch Drebber. He's the swindler who duped Professor Hairbrain and the engineer who built the kinesis machine.
A swindler and an engineer. Quite the modern man. He also seems to be a conjurer of sorts too, with considerable knowledge of stage magic. Really need to locate him before the trial resumes tomorrow morning. We have so few clues to go on, that's the trouble. Do you have any good ideas? I have no data yet. It is a capital mistake to have good ideas before one has data. If I knew something of the man's appearance, at least, I may be in a better position to help. Well, we do have, for as crappy as it may be, we do have a photo of him, so that might, yes, Drebber's appearance. Fortunately for you, however, presently I have little to occupy myself and little to fill my stomach. As soon as you find any clue, no matter how small, I should gladly give you my thoughts on it. Okay, well, we'll show that to you, but before we do that, I got something else to talk to you about. Mr. Sholmes, did you lie to us? He said, and then to which he'd say, yes, of course, but which time are we talking about? Because it's a daily occurrence for me. My dear Mr. Naruhodo, stay that piercing stare. What is this about? Which time which I lied to you are you referring to?
Last winter, when we were first on our way to Britain aboard the steamship.
When we met Beef Stroganoff.
Your words were very clear.
So then, let us unravel this mystery, and discover what events led to this curious murder.
You told us that it was murder, and you examined Kazuma-sama's body.
Indeed, and wherein lies the problem? We met him earlier today, the victim Kazuma Asogi. You're quite sure?
He was wearing some sort of mask and was apparently suffering from amnesia. But yes, I'm quite sure. It was Kazuma-sama. You must have known at the time, Mr. Sholmes, that he wasn't actually dead.
Well, I can only assume I was swept up in the murderous atmosphere of the moment. But the fellow wasn't dead at all? Ah, priceless. For I am just so incompetent that I couldn't possibly discern whether a man was dead or alive. That's far beyond my capabilities. I don't suppose that performance would pass muster, would it, Mr. Naruhodo? I could believe that the crew member present at the time made a mistake, but not you. Really? Rinosuke, are we talking about the same Mr. Sholmes here? I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that. Please, Mr. Sholmes. Tomorrow in court, you will find yourself on the threshold of a very great mystery. For now, I'm afraid that it is all I can say. I don't know why it's hard to believe that he's just so incompetent that he just screwed up. Like, it's Sholmes. What do you expect? Anyway, you want a clue? Well, here's your clue. Mr. Sholmes, would you cast your eyes over this photographic print?
It's of Mr. Enoch Drever, the face of the engineer we seek.
Well, all Englishmen look broadly the same, of course, so looking at this photograph won't be particularly instructive. Are you alright, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, forgive me. Very interesting, very interesting indeed.
What's wrong, Mr. Sholmes?
You clearly spotted something in the photo we won't tell us about. I have a suggestion, Mr. Naruhodo. Will you indulge me? Oh, well, what is it? As I explained to you when you arrived, the missing waxwork has been returned, and I personally reinstalled it in the exhibit from which it was taken, behind those thick curtains. Oh, yes, the professor exhibit, isn't it? Wouldn't you like to see it? For a mere 5 shillings? I can pull the curtain open for free, so no thanks. What? The opportunity won't come again, I might add. Wouldn't you like to see the fruits of it? I can do that for free by just pulling open the curtain.
Oh! We do have a rather pressing investigation to carry out. Perhaps we could postpone?
The price is a very reasonable 5 shillings. I think you'll find it's well worth it. Are you being quite serious, Mr. Sholmes? Surely you need only look at my expression to ascertain that this is serious. This all silliness? I can never tell with you, that's the point.
Very well, it couldn't hurt. Hey, here's your 5 shillings. You just pull open the curtain for free.
Gratefully received.
It's right there, just pull it open.
So, the special exhibit awaits behind the curtain. I invite you to peruse it at your leisure. Okay.
Well, the money's been spent, so let's go and see the special exhibit.
And we could have done this for free, but this is whatever. Through those heavy curtains at last. Oh, I thought it was going to automatically teleport us there. I guess not. Okay, well, I guess we'll just examine them and pull them back ourselves. Do all the work by ourselves. 5 shillings we've had to pay. Doesn't seem right somehow that Mr. Sherman slipped the money into his own pocket, does it?
No. Ah! We could ask Gina to retrieve it for us, using a special skill.
I think that might be worthwhile. Pickpocketing police officers and diddling to stop saying that. Is this what makes Britain great? Not to mention demigod prosecutors taking the law into their own hands or chip-loving inspectors.
Inspector Gregson comes off rather well in that list, I think.
Relatively speaking. But, you know. It's a sliding scale. October 23rd, Madame Tussville's special exhibit. Ah! Ha, ha, ha. What now? How about no? How about we don't do that? How about instead of this, how about we do literally anything else for a special exhibit? I think just a giant blank room with white paint all over the walls, or just a blank empty white box would probably be of better use of my time than this freaky ass graveyard. What the hell?
Mrs. Sato, I say we turn on our heels and go straight home via a really big confectionery. We certainly can't do that. We paid 5 shillings.
That's what's stopping you from leaving? True. I do it. We can't run away from the men with chainsaws. We already paid to be here. It's like, yeah, how far can I push that before you draw the line and go, okay, yeah, maybe we should leave? Actually, now I'm looking a little more closely. We've paid good money to see an exhibit that's clearly incomplete. The nerve of the great diddling detective is far more terrifying than anything else in this place.
This must be what Mr. Sholmes meant when he said the case was largely solved.
Be that as it may, Mr. Sholmes heavily implied that there'd be a clue about the engineer in here, didn't he? But where? Since we've paid 5 shillings, let's do 5 shillings worth of investigation, shall we?
Yes, we will get what we paid for.
Is that fear of frustration that's making Susato-san's voice tremble? Okay, well, once again, for some reason, there's an owl up here. I didn't want to move, I wanted to examine. There's an owl up in the tree branch. It's freaky as all hell, but more importantly, what are you doing here?
This part of the exhibit is just as disturbing as the rest. It looks so real.
It seems to be a young man in a white overcoat.
And he has a large shovel in his hands, too. Look.
Perhaps we should investigate in a little more detail. Are you not going to yammer on about the shovels and spades this time? I feel like it's worthy talking about shovels and spades again.
What a large shovel. He's holding it rather ominously, isn't he? What on earth is the man doing with a shovel in the graveyard in the middle of the night?
Take a random guess. Mr. Sato?
Yes?
That's a God.
No, it's a shovel.
No, shovels are for digging.
That's what's scooping up loose material. It's a spade. We've been through this, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a shovel.
No. Although, we haven't considered trowels.
We've allowed ourselves to be distracted, I feel. Perhaps we should concentrate on what the man was doing with the implement.
So we're going to bury the hatchet? You're right, though. What was the man doing in the graveyard in the first place? He has a shovel in a graveyard. Let's put 2 and 2 together here, people. Let's just put 2 and 2 together here. Okay, he's got a I think that's supposed to be a camera. It's a pretty big camera. What's this here?
Well, this would appear to be a lens in the middle, so I believe it's probably a camera.
A camera, but it's so small. That's the idea that would be considered small in this time period. British technology is incredible, isn't it? I mean, what of Mr. Sholmes' skin prints?
I think perhaps you should treat Mr. Sholmes' invention as exceptions to the rule. But anyway, why would the man be in graveyard at night with a camera?
I wonder. Perhaps he was trying to capture the moment a dead body came back as a ghost on film.
Well, just borrow this for a little while, I think.
Yeah, sure. Rob someone else from the exhibit. Why don't we?
By looking at the photographic plate inside the camera, we can see what picture was taken.
What's a photographic plate?
It's a piece of glass coated in a special emulsion that reacts to the light coming into the lens. If we open the cover at the back of the camera, we should find it. Let's have a look.
You should see yourself, Susato-san. Your eyes are shining, as per usual. You really do like machinery, don't you? Alright then. And then I guess we can also check his face. Probably something worth worth examining. I can't see his face very well, can you? Perhaps if I just...
Oh, do you think that you should be manhandling the exhibits, Mr. Naruhodo? You just stole the camera! What do you mean?
I'll put it back exactly as it was, don't worry. Or at least I think you stole the kid. Didn't she say, or maybe she only took the photographic plate? I don't know, whatever. Point being, I'm not the only one to take something from the scene. What on earth? How can... I don't believe it. A black monocle. I think that's what it said anyway. Yeah, okay.
Mr. Naruhodo, is it possible that this man is...
Yes. It's Enoch Drebber.
The color of his hair is different, but...
It's unmistakably him. Indeed it is.
Mr. Sholmes.
This man is the subject of your present hunt, I believe.
Yes, that's right. Just who is this man? Why is he here in the exhibit?
And why does the convict behind him have no head? The head was missing when the mono was returned by the thief who stole it. What a surprise. So the case isn't yet solved, is it? Did I not say so to myself? Largely solved were my words, I believe. Well, that doesn't really... If the whole thing isn't returned, then it doesn't really matter what percentage of it is solved. If the percentage isn't 100, it doesn't matter what it is in terms of what percent is solved. But I must locate the missing head, today sweet, as Madam would say, or I'll be in grave trouble. A very hungry Iris still awaits my return to Baker Street, preferably with rations she can cook for herself. Ah. Also, again, are we not making any money as a lawyer?
Do you know, though, something about this room is strange.
Strange? What do you mean?
Well, the displays in the House of Horrors are supposed to depict real events, are they not?
Indeed they are, Mr. Sato. Do go on.
And, as terrifying as they are, the scenes in the other exhibits are believable, but this one... This surely could never really have happened, could it?
I'd be stunned if it did. I think it's time I educated you a little. About the nature of the incident involving the professor 10 years ago. Oh dear. Oh, do I even want to know? Do I even want to know? I believe I told you a little about the professor yesterday, did I not? He took the lives of 5 victims, every one being either a member of the aristocracy or royalty. All were attacked by an enormous hunting hound and had their throats ripped from their bodies. An enormous hunting hound. Huh. An enormous hunting hound when there's a forbidden case called the Hound of Baskerville. How interesting. How wonderfully interesting. After taking the life of his 5th victim, the killer was apprehended. It was a case of unprecedented magnitude in Britain, you understand, accordingly. The professor was tried in a closed court. No members of the public were permitted.
A closed court? So you mean that the professor's identity...
As you've surmised, my dear fellow, his identity was never made public. Naturally, he was found guilty and was summarily sentenced to death by hanging. He was buried in a grave at Lowgate Cemetery, which adjoins the rear of the prison where he had been held. However, that was not the end of the affair.
Oh!
The very night that he was buried, the convicted man came back to life. He did what now? He clawed his way out of the ground and emerged into the moonlit graveyard. The exhibit here depicts that very scene as described by the sole witness to those chilling events.
There was a witness?
But of course, my dear fellow, it was none other than the young man in the white overcoat.
Enoch Drebber, he saw it happen?
Okay. Okay.
So this is a waxwork model of Enoch Drebber.
10 years ago, the convicted professor, having been gibbeted and buried, emerged from his grave in the dead of the night. The sole witness to that unimaginable scene was this young man. From appearances, I would say he was about 20 years old.
It's so horrifying!
Scared out of his wits, the young Drebber ran to a nearby police station to report the incident. And the sheer terror of what he'd seen is said to have turned his hair white overnight.
Yes, as shown in the photograph we have of him, his hair is completely white.
For the following few days, the story of what he'd seen was on every front page in the capital. The public was frantic for every last detail about the killer who'd come back to life. As you've seen, an exhibit was even created here at Madame Tussauds.
I can quite understand why the man's hair turned white, certainly, but what I don't understand is what Mr. Drebber was doing in the first place, in a lonely graveyard in the middle of the night.
Yes, what was he up to? With a shovel? Take a guess. The professor's acts of terror threw London's upper classes into complete panic 10 years ago. It was a great scandal, one might say, at the very highest levels of society. And since the killer's identity was never made public, rumors abounded. After all, no killer had ever before systematically employed a dog as a weapon of murder.
Yes, I can imagine the impact the case must have had. You know, it turns out this case was actually the inspiration for Sir Dojin in Investigations too.
But in time, of course, the rumors abated. So too did talk of the shocking witness account of the convict who came back to life. It was forgotten, so dismissed as a dubious ghost story, as a preposterous parlor tale.
But why did people stop believing it?
Why? Simply because there was no resurrection to speak of, as was established in fact.
What do you mean by no resurrection?
The police investigated the grave in Lowgate Cemetery and published their findings. The convict's body was found to be buried exactly where it had been following the execution.
No! But that would Mr. Drebber must have lied to the police in the newspapers.
That would appear to be the only logical explanation, yes. The young man subsequently vanished from society and nothing had been heard of him since. It's rather striking, then, that he should resurface now. Don't you think? Oh, I didn't mean to skip all that. That was not part of the plan. Did not mean to skip all that. Let's go back and read that. Of course, the convicted murderer couldn't really come back to life. It's not possible. But Trevor's hair is unusually white, and if that really did happen overnight as a result of shock, it's hard to believe the incident was an out-and-out lie. Here's the thing. This case seems absurd on the surface, which just makes me all the more curious to see what the truth is going to be revealed to be as. I am insanely curious. Okay. So on the note, I guess we should probably actually check the headless waxwork thing.
This must be the killer, the fiend known as the Professor.
Yes, I think so. According to what Madame Tuspel said, he killed 5 victims, all of noble or royal blood.
The waxwork is so lifelike, isn't it? Like all the models in this place.
I know, it looks like it could start moving at any moment, doesn't it? If only it had a head, that is. Perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. Well, I mean, the only thing worthy of examining here is the fact that there's no head on it.
So this is the condemned man.
Yes, the so-called professor.
Then perhaps his head was chopped off by a guillotine. But unable to find peace, he emerged from his grave as the headless...
Well, no, because he said he was put to death by hanging, not by the guillotine. Do we have to entertain such terrifying ideas, Mr. Sato? Anyway, I'm sure the model has had a head once. There's a metal fitting for it, see?
Then perhaps Mr. Shones absentmindedly forgot to reattach it?
That's an extremely absent-minded detective you're describing, isn't it? Which doesn't really fit your vision.
Or perhaps the thief absentmindedly forgot to include the head when he or she returned it to the museum?
And that would be an extremely absent-minded thief. Could there have been some reason why only the head wasn't returned? Or whatever the reason, it means we don't know what the face of the infamous professor looked like, do we? Oh. There's something caught just inside the convict's jacket here. It looks like a piece of broken glass. A piece of broken glass, huh? A piece of broken glass, huh? A piece of broken glass, huh? How interesting. How wonderfully interesting. I wonder who said there might be a connection here when we first came to the Waxwork Museum in the first investigation.
It's very thick, isn't it? About 5 times thicker than normal window glazing, I'd say. Where could such a thick piece of glass have come from, I wonder? I suppose it must have been thick to increase its strength. But why? Well, perhaps because the glass had to span a particularly wide area, such as in a big building, for example. Ah, well, we've seen a large glass building recently, haven't we? And some of the glass was broken, too. You don't mean... Exactly. The Crystal Tower of the Great Exhibition. But why would glass from the Crystal Tower be lodged inside this waxwork's jacket?
It makes you think, doesn't it? Yes. Yes, it does. Earlier in court, we established that the kinesis experiment was a trick, and now we discovered this fragment of glass here in the waxwork. Is it just a coincidence? No, it is not. There's no chance it's just a coincidence. Okay. Well, I think that's all we can examine here for now. Oh, dear God, what happened? Hi, Gina. What the hell are you doing here?
What the bleep no, Odo? What are you going done? Gina, what are you doing here?
Why did I... That was...
I asked Iris, and she said this is where you'd be, so...
So I'm gonna shoot my hairdryer gun into the air?
Not so loud in the museum.
Madame Tuspel will have you take position as a waxwork if you're not careful. I think there might be a more pressing concern.
I still had some flash powder left from 6 months ago, so I'm wasting all of it. Alright, Gina, we understand, but please, put down the gun.
She's not gonna kill us with it. It's a waste, but she's still not gonna kill us with it.
Sorry, I got scared.
You should try being the one on the other end of the barrel. So what brings you here, Gina?
What brings me here? What do you think? You found it. We found that dodgy killer's workshop.
What? You found Trevor's workshop?
Yep.
What are we still doing around here? Go now!
The boss and the others are heading over there now on the drag, so go. Yeah, go! We need to go now. Oh, thank you, Gina. We can go there at once. All right then. See you there.
Yeah, it's time to go now. Time to go. No, I don't care about Jones. Just go, leave. Go to the workshop now. You go, don't mind me. That's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I was gonna leave you here anyway. What? No, we don't have time to talk. Leave. Where did your eyes go? Sholmes? Hold on. Am I going crazy? Okay, I think it might just be that he's closed his eyes. And because of the lighting and the shadow cast by his head, it makes it look like he has no eyes. but from where I'm sitting, it looks like he doesn't have any eyes. That's a little freaky.
Oh dear, someone is feeling sorry for himself.
It's great, because no one's feeling, it's great, he has to share the load for everyone, because no one else is feeling sorry for him. Let's go, Mr. Sholmes, you're coming. No, he's not. Your words haunt me, I must say. But if I were to shirk my duties here, madam would have... Forget that, I'll pay for everything. What? If you have the money to pay, then why is Iris going hungry? Then there's not a moment to lose, my dear fellow. I shall hail that carriage at once. Okay, now I'm confused. No offer to share the cost of Mr. Sholmes, then.
I shall gladly pay half, Mr. Naruhodo.
Again, how is it that you think Iris is going hungry? Because, shouldn't you should have enough money to... Okay. Whatever. So, ideally, Sholmes wouldn't have come with us, but, okay. Well, that looks like...
Oh! It's another super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine.
Indeed it will appear so. They're only a prototype, naturally.
Ah, so you got it then? Gina, well done for finding this place. And in such little time, you've really worked miracles.
Well, the dog did, but, you know.
It's only you as the miracle worker.
Hey, Gregson.
I thought you lot would show up before long. Hello, Inspector. That's one knitted brow. It looks like he's eating a lemon, not a bag of fish and chips. So, Inspector, is there any sign of the engineer?
Sadly not. We didn't find a soul in here.
Oh, what a shame.
Well, I mean, there's still clues to be found here.
Well, thank you for letting us know about this place and giving us a chance to investigate.
According to what Gina tells me, we only found it thanks to a clue that you lot turned up. I wouldn't want to, say, go to Paris with a debt of gratitude unpaid now, would I?
Thank you.
Well, I thought you were keeping that a secret from Gina. She's right here. Okay.
Anyway, if you're hoping to snoop around in here, I'd get cracking. Lord Van Zeeks and the forensic investigation team are on the way here as we speak.
Them again?
I imagine you got the picture by now. They don't take too kindly to lawyer types.
Oh, you don't say. Right. So then, my dear fellow, let's turn this place upside down whilst we have the chance.
And you, Sholmes.
Pardon?
They take even less kindly to great detectives than they do.
Well, luckily for you, Sherlock Sholmes is the antithesis of a great detective, so he should be totally fine. Very droll, Gregson, very droll. But you may consider me nothing more than an inconspicuous waxwork model. Who has no eyes, apparently. Right then, let's see what we can find in here. Okay, where to even begin? I mean, I guess the obvious place to start would be the machine itself.
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. Our machine is covered by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. There would be serious repercussions if you were to examine it from the Crown and the government.
And yet, but those don't seem to be holding back. It's quite hollow inside. No working parts or devices of detection to be seen, my dear fellow.
No loose change dropped on the floor or nothing. Not even a bone for Toby here, my dear fellow. British people are very much ruled by their own ideals, aren't they?
I think that's just these two, Mrs. Sato. Alright, well, that didn't get us anywhere. So, the two things that stick out most to me here are, obviously, the trophy on the table. Ah, this appears to be most interesting. Yes, most interesting indeed, wouldn't you say? It's an impressive-looking back massager, that's not a... I've not doubt that if you hit your shoulders a few times with that, your aches and pains will soon go away. It's a Royal Society trophy for excellence in science. A young scientist could wish for no higher honor. Ah. Wouldn't you like a massage? Ah, no, I'm fine, thank you. I had no idea it was such a grand thing.
I think it's becoming increasingly clear that there's much more to this Mr. Enoch Drebber than conjuring tricks.
I couldn't agree more, my dear madam. And how about you, Mr. Naruhodo? Wouldn't you like to take it with you? For your tired shoulders, of course? He's not going to let that go, is he?
It's curious, though, isn't it? You would expect such an important trophy to be proudly on display somewhere, not haphazardly cast aside. English gentlemen can be quite a mystery at times.
Okay. And then the second thing that's of note is, obviously, the giant door that definitely leads to some evil secret lair that we need to get into. This door doesn't want to open. Alright, well, let's fix that problem. I summon Wreck-It Ralph. Or I guess I summon Hulk. Hulk, smash. Smash the door.
Yeah, looks like it's got a pretty hefty lock on it.
There's a specialist locksmith on his way over from the yard, so hands off till he gets here.
With permission, Inspector, I could have that lock open in less than a minute. Oh, I'd like to see you try.
Well, you don't have permission, and no one's giving it to you.
Gregson looks as though he'd really enjoyed that. I will also enjoy telling Sholmes no. Although I might have just told him yes just to see him try and fail. That would probably have been equally awesome.
Well, there's no sign of anybody on the other side.
That doesn't mean even if there's no body on the other side, doesn't mean there's nothing on the other side. No, Drebber must have fled at the first sign of danger. Hello?
Oh,
Is something wrong, Mr. Sato?
well, I thought I heard a noise from the far side of that door. Well, Gina, did you hear it too? Yeah, I heard it, Noel. What are you making, Toby?
Right, mind the grease. Whoever's in there, open up. This is Scotland Yard.
I mean, it could have just been something falling over. Or it's the sound of someone running away and hiding in a secret door somewhere, hiding in yet another secret room, which, okay, so he's in there. So he's absolutely in there. Drebber is absolutely 100% in there right now. Okay. Alright. Step aside, ladies and gentlemen. We're breaking down the door. I mean, I'm not, because I'm not strong enough to do it. But if I just, like, summon Wreck-It Ralph, we'll get it open in no time.
Ah, this rotten, bleeding lack.
My dear Gregson, as I said only minutes ago, if if only it were countenanced, I could unlock that door in less than a minute.
Fine, I'll take the rap for it. Just get us through that blasted door.
There, you may enter it.
No. You confused minutes with seconds, I think. You already opened it? Okay.
What are we waiting for?
For you to explain how the hell you pulled that one off.
Nothing for it, I suppose. This is an emergency.
So he's absolutely in there, and I guarantee you he hid, because what we heard footsteps, followed by the sound of a door opening, followed by the sound of a door shutting, so he's hiding in some kind of secret room.
There's a strong possibility that beyond that door is the engineer you all seek. Be prepared for action, my dear fellow.
Yes. Because we're all so experienced with action sequences in the Ace Attorney universe. Oh dear God, what the hell happened in here? What? What's happening here? Okay, so the only place he could be hiding is inside that safe, which, I mean, because that's the only door in here that one could reasonably open that makes that noise. And it seems large enough for a person to hide in, so I'm guessing he's in there. Why is everything upside down?
What? There ain't no one in here after all.
But check the safe.
But there might be. It was only moments ago that we heard those noises.
Maybe that was the sound of Drebber running away. Yeah, running away into the safe. But there's only one door in this room. Check the safe. Check the safe.
And no windows could afford an escape route. Those skylights are too high.
Also, there's a hot air. The hell? Are there footprints on the ceiling?
Blow me, what we have here then?
What the hell happened here?
Looks like someone was trying to burn something in a hurry.
Also, again, there's a hot air balloon up there, so I'm guessing was this a stage to set up to prepare for the trick?
Oh, that looks like a set of not blue blueprints.
To what?
That Professor Hairbrain's blind machine, is it? Blimey! If we had these, there would be no need to muck about trying to investigate all that scrap metal.
There is something of great interest here, too. This rope was lying on the floor at the foot of that pillar.
A rope? What's significant about that?
Never mind. You see, but you do not observe, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, do tell.
We must investigate the entire room thoroughly, and before the forensic investigation team arrive too.
I mean, I feel like before we do any of that, we should probably talk to Sholmes, see what he was talking about the rope. I'm sure he has something to say. Mr. Sholmes, have you found something?
Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, in point of fact, something rather fascinating. What do you make of this?
Let's see. I've never seen anything like it before. Looks like a... Mr. Sato, what's the matter?
Surely that's a time bomb.
What? Did you say?
A time bomb?
Sorry, but what is a time bomb? Sound it out, Renosuke. Put the words together. What does time mean? What does bomb mean? If you put the words together, what do you get?
You are truly one of a kind, Mr. Naruhodo. You are one to talk, buddy.
I won't take that as a compliment.
Ha! You don't know nothing, do you, Aldo?
You haven't got a clue what it is either, have you, Gina?
I invite you to consult the dictionary later, Mr. Naruhodo. But this particular specimen is no time bomb, though I confess it has a very similar appearance.
Oh, well, thank goodness. But then, what is it?
I see. So that's it.
Goodness, Mr. Sholmes, have you seen to the heart of the matter?
I doubt it. There are times when I consider my lot most unfair, for I'm fated never to know how it feels to flounder as you do when a puzzle presents itself. Ha 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 ha, really? Really, buddy? Are you sure about that? Do you want to go over some of your previous dances of deduction, and then see if you still uphold that? Really? Really? But I have learned to accept the hardships that come with being a great detective, Mr. Sato. Here we go. I feel a great deduction coming. Once again, I can draw two conclusions from the scene that we see before us. The first is that the inverted nature of this furniture in the room is the work of Gemma himself.
Oh, but how could you...
And the second conclusion is that the small device on the floor there is without question completely genuine.
Please, Mr. Sholmes, you must explain everything, because we have no idea what the hell you're talking about. You make no sense, ever.
It would be a pleasure. After all, it is a great detective's civic duty to teach Scotland Yard the finer points of the trade.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna learn a lot from you. Well, I mean, he might learn a lot in the opposite manner, by which you mean, like, learn how not to be a good detective. Well, Inspector Gregson seems delighted with the idea anyway.
Oh, you deflected the inspector's glare with such fortitude there, Mr. Sholmes. Well done!
You're too kind.
If you look up the definition of fangirl in the dictionary, you're just gonna see a picture of Susato next to it. She's just a living embodiment of a fangirl.
You're too kind, my dear madam. I hereby dedicate this great deduction to you. Kindly stand just there, Mrs. Sato.
Oh, yes, I'll be delighted.
So, shall we begin? Once again, Sherlock Sholmes is proud to present his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. And this time with costumes that don't switch randomly during the presentation.
I gotta say, the music itself is, like, the mechanics are still kind of railroady in terms of, like, there's not much leeway in terms of when you get to interject, but the music itself, really love the music.
It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. One astute observation you've made. This bed, the table and chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in the room had, until recently, been happily positioned on the seat.
What now? You think what now? What now?
Before falling straight down onto the floor.
Every item in the room was on the ceiling. Are you suggesting that...
Indeed, the key here is gravity.
What? No! 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 Several varying degrees of no. Really? Okay, you have gone too far now. You have gone too far now. Your previous deductions were kind of like, alright, this is a little crazy. But now you're talking about anti-gravity rays? Oh, come on. Come on. Really?
For the gravity in this room was reversed and then suddenly restored to normality.
Goodness!
The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part that gravity played in this whole business. I quite understand your skepticism, Mr. Sato. I, too, was incredulous at first. However, my conviction in my analysis was cemented when I observed this.
An anti-gravity that's a stick of dynamite. That's not an anti... Whoo, boy. It just gets crazier and crazier every time.
An anti-gravity device, almost identical to the one that featured in a dream of mine only the other day, in fact.
Oh, you dreamed about it. Oh, I'm there. Okay. Okay.
But then why does it have a clock on it?
Most relevant question indeed. That is a timing device that controls when the gravity direction will switch. You can't be serious. It was clearly a requirement for the engineer to be able to restore normal gravity automatically, and the commotion we heard earlier from the other side of the door was the moment the restoration occurred.
No, it would have been... we're dealing with the bed, chairs, and, like, wardrobes and things like that. It would have made a significantly louder crash than what we heard.
Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device. So, you see, we need to look no further to explain the state in which we now find this room.
No. What are you talking about? What? Oh, come on. No. Okay. Whatever you say. Whatever you say, my friend.
Now, let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his actions is above our heads.
Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there in the ceiling?
Because he's secretly Spider-Man. A question whose answer will lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madam. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Of course, Trevor's aim was singular, to escape.
He's not Spider-Man.
However, there is but one way into this room, excepting the skylight, that is.
Ah. Oh, what the hell? I feel like we just entered the realm of Doctor Strange, where the gravity's constantly flipping around in all sorts of random directions.
By inverting the gravity in here, Trevor was able to fall conveniently to the ceiling and make his escape via the otherwise inaccessible skylight, leaving those footprints behind on the way.
What are you talking about? But the ceiling in here is very high, Mr. Sholmes. If the gravity reversal was sudden, would Mr. Trevor have fallen up to the ceiling rather violently?
Following up is both scientifically and philosophically a rather interesting concept, I feel, but the man was concerned with nowhere to run, so escape through the skylight was his only option. You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution.
Oh, the rope.
To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope? By anchoring one into the wall, a man was able to lower himself safely to the ceiling, which explains how Trevor was able to escape this room before our arrival.
Where do I even begin? How do you even begin dissecting that insanity?
And personally, I should very much like to reverse the pull of gravity again now, just for fun.
Okay. We've reached new levels of batshit off the walls insanity with Sholmes this time. This is your wackiest deduction yet.
Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle.
Okay. Ace Attorney, Super Mario Galaxy Edition. Yeah, no one took that seriously at all. She's completely spellbound. No way she took that seriously. No way. Mr. Sholmes, there's just one thing that that's more than one thing.
I would expect nothing less. You're destined to be troubled by just one thing for the rest of your life.
The thing is such a thing actually possible? An anti-gravity device, I mean.
I would say that with man's current scientific knowledge at the turn of the 20th century, it's no more possible than instantaneous kinesis.
Meaning it's not. But your home deduction hinges on it.
Bob, my dear fellow, when you have eliminated the impossible... When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth, Mr. Trite. However improbable it may seem.
That's a nice little callback. Ha ha.
It's a marvelous line, wouldn't you agree? One of my more enduring pearls of...
Oh, you have no idea how enduring it is.
Hired I was come up with the exact phrasing. My original was clumsy.
I'm shocked. Yes, I have a feeling I've read it in something that Mr. Sutter lent me once.
Actually, there is one other thing, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, the spell's broken at last.
The rope you found was on the floor, wasn't it?
Indeed it was. It only closed near the wall.
But if Mr. Trevor had used it to escape in the way that you described, wouldn't it still be tied to the wall?
Yeah, that's one of like 3,000 problems with what he just told us.
Mysteries inevitably unravel in the end, as I think you'll find to ropes.
Yeah, replace mysteries with your logic, inevitably unravels in the end.
And as evidence of such, you need only look at the mystery faced in this room, now skillfully unraveled.
That argument is as circular as the coils of rope.
I think perhaps we might need to give Mr. Sholmes the usual little helping hand. I'm sure with some minor corrections.
You keep calling them minor. They're major corrections. They fundamentally change what he's actually saying. Yes, you're right. We must do it quickly before NM Trevor gets too far away. He's still in this room, I guarantee it.
If you're ready, then let us resume. Sherlock Holmes' logic and reasoning spectacular.
Oh boy. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Okay. And this is the part where we speed up until I honestly, I don't even know where to begin with this. Like, there's just so much. There's so many ways that I can break this. I don't even, wow, okay. Okay.
To think gravity could have been reversed in this very room, I found the whole idea utterly enthralling. Only Mr. Jones could conceive of such an explanation, but the man himself admitted it was a scientific impossibility, so yes, you're quite right. Ooh, that's unusually merciless of you, Mr. Sato. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. The great detective himself said so, didn't he? While refusing to part with his dreams of anti-gravity devices. Yes, I suppose so. Well, let's see if examining this top-secret scene a little more closely reveals some proof that shows exactly what the gravity in this room was or wasn't doing. Okay, well, the first thing I need to check is, is there any kind of glass in this? If there's any kind of glass in this room, then that just breaks the... Oh, is that... Yeah, okay, well, there you go. It's broken. Yeah, no, this thing would have shattered to pieces. This thing would have shattered to pieces instantly if what you claim exists actually existed. That thing would have shattered to pieces. The upright vase clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business.
Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, you surpassed yourself by completely turning my argument on its head. Trying to impress your assistant here, perhaps?
I don't need your help for that. No one is trying to steal your spotlight here, Mr. Sholmes. Trust me.
As you rightly say, though it appears at first glance that all the furniture in the room is upside down. This unassuming slender vase is standing keenly to attention. And unlike the large safe, there's nothing affixing it to the floor.
And it's the exception that breaks the rule.
In short, much as it pains me, the gravity in this room was never inverted at all!
You needed me to tell you, you needed me to point that out for you? My deepest sympathies for your loss.
Oh, poor Mr. Sholmes.
Nah, that's not, no, not Mr. Sholmes.
But the show must go on, let us continue with our deductions. Now that we know this contrivance is not, in fact, an anti-gravity device, there remains but one other possibility.
You don't say.
Someone deliberately turned over every piece of furniture in here.
Which might sound obvious, but leaves one mystery very much unsolved. Namely, why would anyone choose to do that?
Quite, and naturally there is an explanation.
Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because that's obviously not the case. He's absolutely determined that this device must have something to do with it, isn't he? I'm afraid the lure of an exciting scientific explanation is too strong. Well, there's no doubt that somebody did this. Somebody turned all this furniture over. So whoever it was must have had a reason. I'm afraid nothing comes to mind at all, though. Well, let's look around and see if the answer presents itself. Okay. I don't even know where I would begin. Oh. Well, there's our answer. Okay, well, there you go. He had to find this. Okay, well, problem solved, or mystery solved. He had to find the answer to the save combination, which only further proves my theory that he's currently sitting inside the safe.
Precisely, I do believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that you had a very similar experience once, did you not?
Yes, last year, when I bought a lottery ticket and noted the ticket number down on the inside cover of a book just in case.
That's it, for people are forgetful souls at heart, and always make a written note of important information.
Just keeping the ticket itself safe would be more sensible, I think.
And what, pray, happened next, Mr. Naruhodo?
On the day of the draw came round, I'd forgotten which book I'd written the number in and I had to turn my room upside down to find it.
That's it, for people are forgetful souls at heart, and always forget when they've noted things down.
Not if you always know things in the same place. I actually won the second prize, you know. But I couldn't remember which magazine I'd slipped it.
Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo, but I believe I've proved my point. No, your point?
What do you mean? I'm the one who brought this point to the forefront.
Which is that a very similar scenario is clearly unfolded in this room.
Finding himself requiring access to the safe, the occupant of this room needed the combination code.
I'm just smiling. I feel like Ryunosuke is getting more and more into like the dance itself with his finger points and his animations and dance moves as or quote unquote dance moves as the cases go on and we get further into the game. He remembered that he'd written on the underside of the piece of furniture but forgot which one,
leading to the state in which we now find the room. Yes, Mr. Drebber overturned all the furniture in here in a desperate hurry to locate the combination code that would unlock the safe.
Alright, that makes a lot more sense. So now all we gotta do is open up the safe, and guess what? We will find our missing engineer. He did not escape via the skylight.
Now, let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim?
Alright, we didn't mean to skip through this until we actually get to the part where we can stop and prove how wrong you are once again.
Well, if a change in the direction of gravity can't explain it, then how did those footprints get there?
Yes, I feel as though the Pepsi mystery has just become even harder to solve. I can't think of any, other way to explain it at all. Ooh, life was so much simpler in those halcyon days when gravity could be reversed. It was minutes ago, and those halcyon days never existed in the first place. Well, I suppose we must simply put our faith in Mr. Sholmes and observe the area in more detail. Putting our faith in Mr. Sholmes is what gets us into these situations in the first place. Okay, what are we... Oh, there's just a shoe? Up here? Okay, I guess we missed that little detail. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of this nearby shoe.
And on closer inspection, there are clearly footprints all over the balloon as well. In other words, the aim was never scattered at all, but the balloon.
But for what purpose?
A green balloon. That seems somewhat familiar to it. It was a piece of a green balloon.
It was a piece of a green balloon's envelope that Mr. Naruhodo and Iris found at the scene. And inside the green balloon, the Master Galt claims he saw above the stage when the incident occurred. Was the second birdcage, the crux of the whole instantaneous kinesis deception. You mean to say, if we assume
the balloon in here is a model of the one used on that day, there is a strong possibility that something may be concealed inside it. Something our absconder was desperate to retrieve before making a hasty getaway.
But the balloon's out of reach.
Hence why he resorted to a projectile, namely, the shoe. Most probably. Drebber intended to tear a hole in the envelope by setting it with the shoe. However, his efforts were thwarted when the shoe itself became a prisoner of his lofty heights.
Oh dear, we desperately need to examine that balloon. I feel like if you want to do that, I don't know why I don't know why you wouldn't just shoot it down with a crossbow in that case. If only there was somewhere we could see inside.
You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution.
Oh, the rope!
To reach the intended destination, what better tool than how about the crossbow? How about the crossbow? Let's try the crossbow. What better tool for the job? I know. Ooh, pick me. Me. Pick me. Pick me. I swear I have the answer. Oh, you know what? Calling it now. It's gonna be the head. Calling it now. The head's inside that thing. Calling it right now. The head is inside that goddamn balloon. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than the crossbow? That was found at the scene, in fact. And in all likelihood belongs to Mr. Drebber. If the man had only brought it away with him that day, he could have avoided losing a shoe at such a critical time as this. So, shall we? Your curiosity is deeply stirred, no doubt, my dear fellows. What is it that Enoch Drebber has hidden inside that balloon? Calling now. It's the head.
Called it! I think. Not what I was expecting to see. I was expecting to see an actual human head, but I think I still called it. A waxwork?
Indeed it is. A waxwork head inside a metal mask. A mask that is shut tight and fastened with a strong and quite impenetrable lock.
So we can't see the face inside, that means. How wonderfully inconvenient. Just a moment, this is the head of a waxwork model? Does that mean... Oh, goodness!
I see you've joined the dots, Mr. Sato. Excellent.
Of course. A headless waxwork model. The case of the abducted Madame Tussauds model that you'd largely solved. It was only the head of the killer that was still missing.
Indeed it was. But I believe Madame Tussauds will now have to settle her sizable account with me. This, as you have now surmised, is the head of the infamous professor.
Yes, but why is it here?
This conclusively confirms my suspicions. The man responsible for stealing the professor from Madame Tussauds and returning it, sans tête, earlier today, was none other than Enoch Drebber.
This is incredible. Professor Hairbrain's case and the waxwork abduction they're inextricably linked by Enoch Drebber's workshop. I kind of had a feeling that'd be the case since we first went to the freaking museum.
Well, it appears our logical pleasure cruise has come to an end, my dear fellows. All that remains is, yes, to speak with the architect of this adventure.
The architect? You mean Mr. Drebber?
As it seems quite impossible that he escaped via one of the skylights. Obviously, the man must still be here in this room.
What?
His location should be abundantly clear. If you simply reflect on the journey we've made together during this deduction.
Enoch Drebber is right here, somewhere in this room?
So, Mr. Naruhodo, will you do the honors?
Yes, of course. Mr. Drebber's hiding place must be the safe. I like the idea that he's just been sat here the whole time, listening to us yammer on about anti-gravity machines, and he's just like, what the hell is wrong with these people? Before we gained access to this back room, we heard noises from in here.
Which tells us that the engineer was still in the building at that point in time.
He was in fact searching for the combination to his safe.
And pressed for time, made no attempt to right the furniture that he overturned in the process, from which we can deduce that his search for the combination happened very recently indeed. In summary, Mr. Enoch Trevor is at this very moment inside the safe.
Come on out, buddy. We know you're in there.
Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. Yeah, I don't know what part of that was your deduction, but,
Okay, whatever you say. Nice! Yeah, I still say that the actual gameplay elements here for dance introduction are not that engaging, but, man, if it isn't cool to see them dance around the room.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps it's time we ended this game of hide-and-seek, don't you?
By opening the safe, you mean?
What else?
Let's see. The combination was
432582.
I knew that! Alright then, here goes. I mean, we could have just checked the table. Hey there, buddy. How you doing? Also, nice goal in hand.
You found me.
Was that really necessary? Go on, be a little bit more dramatic at it while you're at it. Could you be any more dramatic? Okay then. Nice to meet you.
Right then, sir. Mr. Enoch Trevor, I presume? Car act.
I'm just gonna give him a robot voice because he's a cyborg. You better start talking. You tricked Professor Harebrine with that bogus machine you built.
And you shall have to explain the test of the waxwork from Madame Tusswell's as well.
Whilst I would be delighted to answer your many questions,
Oh my dear God.
personally, I would advise that you deactivate my little parcel first.
Deactivate?
Your parcel?
I refer, of course, to the time bomb. I left it in a most prominent position.
Ah!
Ha ha ha. I see. Stunned silence. You're all gearing up to die with me then?
No! Mr. Sholmes, with only 7 seconds to spare.
That was too close for comfort. I've got one foot in the grave already.
Are you trying to help us get a kid or get us killed?
Mr. Sholmes' deductions can be completely life-altering, can't they?
Well, my dear fellows, that was a close shave. He said without any sympathy whatsoever. The resemblance to an anti-gravity device is really quite startling, I must say.
How can it be a resemblance to something that doesn't even exist?
Anti-gravity devices don't exist!
Phew, I wouldn't push it, Mr. Sholmes. Meanwhile, the cyborg would like to have a talk with us. As to would we like to have a talk with the cyborg. What on earth happened in here?
You've found me, haven't you? No need to screw me down any further. Everything in here is precisely what it seems. Lies, lies, lies. Yeah, well, we'll be giving it a thorough going over, don't you worry, Trevor. What fails to click with me is how you were able to locate my workshop. That I was not expecting.
You could thank the dog for that.
When I heard whistling from the other room, I knew it was time to bolt.
Whistling?
Ah, that would have been me.
Oh!
For some reason, I woke in fine fettle today.
No words, just tightly squeezed chips.
Clearly, I must have a screw loose, though, as I couldn't remember the combination for the safe, and another one loose as I couldn't remember on which piece of furniture I'd written it down.
We also found a rope over by the wall.
Yes, I had hoped to exit through the skylight, but sadly the rope was too short, so I then set about searching for the combination code to open the safe.
And burning the incriminating blueprints, don't forget. Regrettably, though, you failed to retrieve the head from the balloon among the rafters.
And after that, you hid yourself inside the safe? when I first set this parcel ticking? Well, I had no intention of being nailed by the police.
Got a death wish, have you? Hiding right beside a ticking time bomb
Inside a safe that I'm assuming would protect, he thinks he would protect him. Please, why do you suppose I chose to hide inside the safe? It's no ordinary safe. It's specially designed. A dynamite explosion wouldn't leave a scratch on it.
So, in fact, you did a crystal skull and hid inside the fridge to protect yourself from the nuclear explosion.
Precisely.
But once you climb inside, you wouldn't be able to get out again.
I invite you to look more closely. The safe is fitted with a handle on the inside to allow the door to be unlocked from within.
Ah, so it is...
I had always intended to blow this place to smithers in any case. I just wasn't expecting uninvited guests to come along and screw up my plans.
Do you mean to say you were planning to blow us all up?
No, that was unforeseen.
What do you mean?
Seriously, could you be any more dramatic with this? Most people run, you see, when they see a ticking time bomb at their feet. Ah, I calculated the time required for retreat to a safe distance and set the device accordingly. But your seemingly endless discourse in here threw a spanner in the works. I mean, you'd probably still kill anyone in adjoining buildings, but okay.
Is something wrong, Gregson? Do I have something on my face, besides the usual eyes, ears, nose, and mouth?
Well, gotta be honest, not what I thought he'd act like. I thought he'd act like
A maniacal, cackling villain who seeks to bring upon the end of the world. Mwahahaha.
like mustache twirling kind of thing. But no, he's just like crazy. What about the 2 incidents you've evidently been involved in recently? Professor Headman's instantaneous kinesis experiment at the Great Exhibition, and the waxwork model you stole which this head belongs to. That's no ordinary head, you know. That's the head of the professor, clad in a mask with a lock so strong I'm unable to open it safely to reveal the killer's identity. I've been considering carrying it around as protection, after all.
Oh?
Hi there. When did you get here?
What's going on here, Gregson? I'm sure you're aware that I have sole jurisdiction to investigate here.
Yes, well,
Dr. Scythe again. And you know full well this engineer is a key witness. Why are you allowing this lawyer access to him? If Lord Strongheart knew of this, he'd be finished.
But he doesn't know about it, so he's good.
You lot leave at once.
My dear madam, there's no need for such a threatening tone, I assure you. After all, that's no way to greet an old acquaintance, is it, Dr. Scythe?
Hello, Sholmes.
Mr. Sholmes knows Dr. Scythe? I'm starting to think there's no one in this town he doesn't know.
If it's protecting the machine next door that's causing such a sour expression on your face, you are quite misguided. It's really nothing more than a shell you
Get out!
But of course, we will show ourselves the door. I see you haven't softened at all. Mr. Naruhodo,
Yes?
it will appear that our delightfully entertaining investigations have run their course for today.
But Mr. Sholmes!
Let us leave this place in the doctor's capable hands.
I said get out, now, all of you. Your presence here is not required either, Gregson.
Yeah, so you're like mega evil.
understood. But I'll just say one thing before I head off. If it wasn't for this lawyer and his companions, we'd never have been found this place, and the whole workshop would have been blown to bits. There was a time bomb set in here that this lot disarmed.
Inspector!
Someone giving you a chuckle, hasn't Drebber?
So sorry, didn't mean to offend. You're quite right, of course. You did disarm the time bomb, didn't you? Yes, you did disarm that one.
Eh? Why you? That one? You mean? Oh! Oh! Run! Move! Quickly! Get the hell out of there! Jesus! Never mind! This guy's not crazy. He's crazy evil. Dude! This... I don't know what the hell's going on in this case, but it's... Clearly something's major's happening if you were willing to blow up the machine and kill those two hapless guards that were just doing their job. Jesus! It was an hour later that we heard the news of the enormous explosion that ripped through the experimentation stage of the Great Exhibition. Professor Harebrain's invention and all its secrets were blown away forever. Don't you dare end there. Holy hell, what? Really? You're gonna leave me there? What is happening in this game, dude? What is this? I just feel like every episode is a new bombshell. Literally, in this case, some new bombshell that gets dropped on us. I don't even know what's happening. I cannot wait to go to trial tomorrow and see what's going to happen next. At least I assume that we're going to trial tomorrow. For all I know, there could be another investigation. But I would assume that we're probably going to head into trial. So that'll be for now. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time. I hope to catch you all tomorrow for some more of the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where hopefully we start making sense of all this. Goodbye.